Welcome to The Dream Show. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson, and this is episode 259. And our guest today, bringing a dream for us to explore and interpret, is Betty. Betty is from Melbourne, Australia, so just over the water from where I live. As you'll hear, because I've just finished talking about the dream with Betty, as you'll hear, there are elements of her dream which you may have had at some stage. One element being, I know I parked my car there, but it's not there anymore. Where is it gone? And a few other elements, but of course also lots of totally unique and very different elements as well. So I think a lot of you will be able to relate to this dream and some of the questions that are asked around it. I won't say any more about that other than to say to those of you that are listening to the Dream Show for the first time, that's what we do. When we have a guest on the show, sometimes we don't have a guest on the show because you tell me that sometimes you like the odd episode where I give you dream interpretation tips and talk to you about how to explore dreams in general. But when we have a guest on the show, which is most of the time, the idea is that we arrange the time, obviously, get it all set up, do it by Zoom. We do it without visuals to keep the guest feeling confidential. We get it all set up, but I know nothing about the dream. I have no idea what dream is going to be presented. And that's because you tell me, and you've been telling me since we started this show in 2009, that you like that experience of me hearing the dream at the same time as you're hearing it and getting to hear, well, where do I go from there? If you book a consultation with me by Zoom, we do it slightly differently. I do ask you to send me the dream 24 hours beforehand so that I can actually have a really good look at it before we go in. But what you hear today is the equally rewarding element of just diving straight into the dream. And I know that a lot of you pick up tips about how to explore your own dreams as a result. So just before we go there, my websites are janeteresa.com. That's Teresa without an H. If you go there, you can listen to every episode of The Dream Show that's ever been. Of course, you more commonly get them at all the usual podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, etc., etc., etc. If you're going for a podcast platform, search for The Dream Show with Jane Teresa Anderson. Will get you there quickly. At janeteresa.com is also where you find out about my books. You can read hundreds of blogs. You can find out about my online courses. And of course, you can find out how to work with me privately and confidentially through my services that I offer. My other website is the Dream Academy, which is my learning platform where you can go to learn how to interpret your own dreams, learn how to give dream therapy and other things as well. And you can find that website at dream-academy-online.com. But here's what we're all really waiting for. Here's Betty and her dream. Welcome to the Dream Show, Betty.
Hi, hello.
And you are not too far away from me. You're in Melbourne.
Yes, that's right.
So we're both sharing the same time of day, kind of happily after lunch.
Yes, that's right. Yep. It's a rainy day.
Oh, you've got rain, have you? We've just got the usual frost.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a bit overcast. Yeah, it's a bit dreary.
So a nice day to be comfortably indoors talking about dreams.
Yes, that's right, exactly.
Thank you for volunteering to be a guest. As you know, I know nothing about your dream, so the stage is now yours to tell us your dream.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so the way that the dream started was I was with my mum and dad. It was night time. I'd parked my car outside at their house on the street. I couldn't sleep, and so I got out of bed, I think maybe to tell my mum and dad. I think I went on the computer to do something while I couldn't sleep because I was getting quite annoyed. And then something told me to go outside. So I ran outside to my car, but it was actually parked on the next street and it was gone.
Mm.
So it wasn't where I'd parked it. I checked and checked again and it wasn't there, and I cried and I cried and I cried. I went to tell my mum and dad, and I went back outside to where the car should have been to see if I could find someone who maybe had seen it happen. And a young girl riding her bike she rode towards me, and I stopped her and asked if she had seen if maybe someone had stolen the car, and she said yes. I asked her if she could stay with me to tell, like, I was going to report it to somebody. I don't know who exactly it was going to be, but if she would mind to stay with me so that she could confirm, I guess, what she had seen or report what she'd seen. Yeah, she was a young girl. I think I may have asked her twice if she could stay with me. I was then telling someone that I know, a male and a female, what had happened. And then I was in my car. Then reversing. But as I was reversing, I knocked my head on a beam. And I actually felt it in my dream, like it hurt.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was a very hard knock, and so the couple that I knew, they actually came to make sure that I was okay, and I was fine, but it just really hurt. But then again, I cried and I cried and I cried. Oh yeah, so that was I think that was like the main that was the main part of the dream. That's how it happened. It's like that's where it sort of ended.
Did you wake up crying?
No, I didn't. But I woke up feeling the hurt of the beam, the pain of the beam.
Yeah, and how long did that last? That physical pain?
Oh, probably just a few seconds.
Yeah. Isn't it wonderful how dreams do that? You know, the senses are so real.
Yes, they are.
That you could even feel it a few seconds after you finish the dream. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And there will be some people listening in that think, oh, I never feel touch in my dreams. I can see, I can hear. Yes. But we can actually do it all. We can taste, we can smell, and we can certainly feel touch. And I think it's often those dreams really feel a touch, you know, whether it's painful or whether it's actually an amazing sense of touch, that often really stay with us because they feel so close. They feel so real, don't they?
Yes, they do.
I should ask you how long ago you had this dream, Betty.
Oh, yes. So it was on the 31st of July. So it was just like a week ago.
A week ago.
Or over a week. Yeah.
Yeah. So while we're exploring it, we're basically looking at what was happening for you in the day or two before the dream.
Yes.
And then based on that, what it might have been bringing up from the past and resonating with and projecting into the future, but basically looking at that time. Okay, so I would love to jump straight away to the young girl riding the bike, because she's one of the more unusual symbols there. So nobody that you knew from waking life?
No, she wasn't someone that I recognised, or even like I don't even think I saw an image of her, like specifically. It was just a girl on a bike.
Yes, yeah. So even though you couldn't see an image of her, you had a feeling for her. So without thinking about it too hard, how old was she?
Yes. Oh, yes, I did write young. So maybe like between 10 to 12, perhaps.
10 to 12 years old. Okay, because we often have that thing in a dream, particularly if it's a person who is unknown to us in waking life, it can sometimes represent a part of ourselves. So it could represent a part of yourself when you were 10 to 12, but it's more likely to represent something that's been in your life for 10 to 12 years. So, you know, something's been in my life for 10 to 12 years is going to look like, maybe going to look like a 10 to 12-year-old person in my dream because they're 10 to 12 years old. So we'll look at it from both aspects, from you when you were 10 to 12 and also 10 to 12 years ago. Do you ride bikes?
Not frequently. I do, but not very frequently.
How do you feel about bike riding?
I think it's an enjoyable activity. I do it for exercise if I do it.
For exercise, not really for... Yeah.
Or actually, sorry to interrupt, or even like if I'm traveling, sometimes it's just quicker. Like you can go further on a bike than you can if you were to walk.
That's interesting. Yeah. So you can go further than if you were walking.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you were driving a car, given that you're in Melbourne, there's traffic as well, still on the whole, which is quicker, the car or the bike?
The car.
The car, okay. So the bike, in one sense here, is a slower method of travel than a car, the car that you've lost in the dream to begin with. But it's also faster than walking, and it's something that you do for exercise.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. In the dream, did you get the feeling that the girl was riding the bike for exercise, or what was she doing on the bike?
I think it was more for play.
Play. Yeah. I love that. So she's a girl too. So
Yes.
and the unknown feminine energies in our dreams can sometimes, not always, but sometimes can represent our inner female, which is our
Okay.
right brain, our creative self, our emotional self, our spiritual self, our sense of a
Yes.
more holistic rather than the male side, which is more straightforward, logical, outer world.
Yes.
Right, so
Okay.
there may or may not be a sense here that there's a part of yourself comes into this dream, which is that more playful, emotional, creative self comes
Yeah.
in to answer your questions about where your car might be and what did she see.
Yeah. Oh, that actually sounds quite relevant because I am that sort of a person.
Yeah, good. That's great. That's so lovely. The car in your dream, was that the car
Mhm.
was that your actual real life car?
Yes, yes, it was. Yeah, and how you said before about like the 10 to 12 relating. I've actually nearly had my car for that amount of time, so that is interesting.
Ah, that's good to know. So was there a reason why you got the car 10 to 12 years ago?
I was to replace my previous car.
Ah, yeah. So was it a good replacement?
Yes, yes, it was. Like, yeah, I love this car. Like, I love my car.
Yeah. And if your new car had a personality, what would it be?
Uh, like the one that I have now. Do
Yes, yeah.
you mean? Oh, yeah. Maybe playful.
Playful again, that's really good. Was the car that you had before that you replaced this one with, was that also playful? Go on.
Oh no, sorry. Actually, can I? I'd say
Yeah.
reliable would be,
Reliable.
or yeah, this
Okay.
one because the previous one was not reliable at all.
Okay, that sounds good. I love that. So there was a shift in your life 10 to 12 years ago where you were fortunate enough to be able to buy a car that was more reliable to
Yes,
replace
yes,
something that was more unreliable. And there may or may not have been a shift also in your life at that time that enabled you to purchase the more reliable car.
yes. Correct. Yeah.
Okay. But in the dream, unfortunately, your car hasn't been very reliable because it's been stolen or wandered off on its own round the corner.
Yes, that's true. That's a good point, actually.
It didn't stay where you put it. It had a mind of its own.
That's
or
right.
it,
It does.
or it didn't have a mind of its own. Someone else took it, and the girl on the bike confirmed that she saw that it had been stolen. Was that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Did she give you any other information in the dream to who might have stolen it?
No, there was nothing. It was just that yes, that it was like she saw. It was that it was stolen. I think that's how it was. Hold on, I wrote it down as yeah. I'd asked her if she'd seen anyone steal a car, and she said yes.
Yeah.
And that was all that was sort of said.
And then shortly after that, the other couple came into the dream, the male and the female, and you were telling them about it.
Yes, that's right.
Where did they come from?
Oh, so I don't know actually how they appeared. So I don't know how they appeared, but like the male in this, like I know he's a friend of mine.
Ah.
But yeah, how they appeared, I don't really know. Like they just appeared.
And they were on foot, though. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to presume so, but I don't. That's
Actually,
not
no.
certain.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
So the male is a friend. How about the female in the dream?
I didn't know who she is.
She was a dream character.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, it looks like the females in your dreams are maybe being unknown, maybe representing your own female side. But this female side was accompanied by someone that you do know. So if we look at that
Yes.
person to wonder why he in particular, more than anyone else, appeared in your dream, what 3 words would you give to describe his personality or approach to life?
Oh, that's a good one. Fun, humor, like a sense of humor. oh God, I'm going to say playful again.
Great, that's fantastic. I was waiting for it.
Like, doesn't take life too seriously, like, yeah, in that sort of
Yeah,
sense.
not take life
Yeah.
too seriously. No, that's great. Before I asked you, I was thinking he's going to be one extreme or the other. He's either going to be similar, this playful,
Yes.
or he's going to be the opposite because he's in there to
Okay.
sort of highlight this in some way. And
Okay.
did you get any feeling for the personality of the woman with him?
No, and funnily, because like the guy that I know, he's married, but it wasn't his wife. This girl was just, no, I didn't get a feel. She was just there, but I didn't feel much from her.
Yeah, so it could be, given what you said about him, she
Yes.
could also be the reflection of his female side, because a playful, not taking things too seriously, lighter can be part of the inner female as well, rather than the
Yeah.
sort of logical, hard line, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Left brain that we have, or right in a male. Yes,
Yeah.
so you had that playful energy in the dream, both from the girl in a sense, because she was
Yes.
playing, and from him, and yet you were not at all feeling playful. You were very, very upset, and you were annoyed to start with, and then you were
Yes.
crying.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's lots of crying.
lots of crying.
Yes.
When you think back on the crying, let me have a look back at the notes I took where you were talking. The first crying was, you were annoyed when you were on the computer, and then it was when
I
you
couldn't sleep.
you
Yeah.
couldn't sleep. So you were annoyed
Yeah.
because you couldn't sleep. Is that something that does happen to you in real life?
Yeah, I can. There are times where I can't sleep and I will get annoyed because I know that I need to get sleep.
Yeah.
But then also too, the crying, I've been doing a lot of crying this year. Like just, I don't know if like, but that's been like, it was a lot earlier in the year though. And I mean, there was a little bit, a few months ago, let's just say. So I don't know if that's just reminiscent of everything that I've been going through in the past year, perhaps.
I would say it has, and I'll come to the reason why in a minute. But obviously, when we cry in waking life, it is always a good release. It's always a good thing to do. So quite often, I would expect to see crying in a dream where the person hasn't been crying, when it's kind of like a release. But that's not what you've said there. So this may be additional tears to that, or it may be further exploring the sadnesses. The reason I thought that you might have had a difficult time before was because you said when you the part of the dream when you were in the car and reversing, because I wrote this down, you said you knocked your head on a beam and it was a hard knock.
Yes.
And a hard knock is what we say about ourselves when something difficult has happened in life. I had a hard knock. It was a hard knock.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Life gave me a hard knock. Hard knock.
Yes. Well, yeah. Okay.
So
it is, very appropriate.
Okay. So in a sense, it's good that you were crying in that part of the dream too. After the hard knock, there was a release there, which is good to know. So just before that, I know we're going all over the place, but that's,
yes.
as you know, as a listener and as everyone that listens to the show regularly, and anyone that's worked with me knows that that's how we approach dreams.
Yep.
When you magically finally tell me how you magically found your car in the dream.
Oh, that's a really good question. See, I haven't. I don't know that it's just happened. It's just I was in 1 minute I was talking to the young girl, and then the next minute I was in my car reversing.
Great. Okay. So 1 minute I was talking to this part of myself that is playful and has maybe been around for 10 to 12 years. And that somehow gave me the solution, because here I am in the car. I found something by getting in touch with my playful side. So that's going to say step one. But then when you found that thing, that car, you decided to reverse it. Instead of going forward, you went backwards. Any idea why you were reversing it in the dream?
Oh, well, so I guess that sort of because I had sort of taken a path earlier in the year, and then I had to go back on that path. I think that's why.
Yes. I guess that. It's nice to hear you confirm it.
Yeah.
So in the dream, it's like, okay, let's predict that earlier in the year, you were not feeling so playful. You got in touch with your playful or creative side and thought, okay, I've got to step back on this. You're going back on it, and yet it's been a bit of a hard knock for you.
Yes, that's pretty much, you said it exactly the way it was. Yeah.
And where the hard knock was felt in the dream was A, in the head, because you really felt it in your head, and B, I guess, in your heart, because you were crying.
Yes. Yeah.
Mostly in your head.
Yes. Oh, mostly in my head it was. Yeah, it was mostly in the head. The actual knock, I felt mostly in my head.
Yeah, which kind of sometimes draws attention to our thinking or our thinking processes rather than our heart and our feeling. So maybe at the time, that you sort of took it all on rather than looking at it from an emotional perspective, looked at it from a thinking and analysing kind of, this has hurt my thinking patterns and the way that I think about life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very appropriate.
Okay. So it was a beam that you hit your head on.
Yes.
Tell me about the beam.
It was like one of those really big wooden ones. Like, you know how often, like the ones that you'd see in like a house that these days they're more of a feature as opposed to something that holds the roof or the walls up. Like they look really aesthetically nice.
Yes.
Yeah, they're quite thick and solid, but flat.
But flat. And this was inside your car or outside your car? Or
Sorry, that's a really good question. I don't know.
That's lovely. When you first told it to me in the dream and you said beam, I was thinking, although it was obviously something hard that hit you, and I was thinking like a beam of wood, I was also wondering whether it was like, with dreams sometimes making puns, whether it was a beam of light, like, it's hit me. I've suddenly see something, and that's painful to see. So that's one possible. Okay. Yeah. But I love what you said there, that it's something that you historically a beam was used in a house to hold things up, to hold the structure up. But now it's more of a feature. So there's a sense there that you were reversing, and what you came into contact with, the hard knock, was something that would traditionally hold up a structure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But instead it's now a feature. So there's something in there about something that would normally be part of the structure of my life is something that I'm now backing out of. And your dream, we'll come to why you had this dream last week to begin with, but obviously it's talking about the past at the moment.
Yes.
When I backed out of something, and that meant that the old structures, the old ways in which things were not holding up anymore, and that's what hurts me. Something that would normally contribute to hold it up, is what you said, to holding it up or holding myself up or holding the structure up, is now hurting my head, is now not good for me, is creating a painful feeling for me. And there may or may not be an overlay there of it was a feature of my life. It was something I liked. It looked pretty, something that looked pretty, but was no longer a structure for me. So what I'm thinking along, Betty, I might be wrong, this is just where I'm thinking, is I looked good in this situation that I chose to back out of. I looked like the feature beam. That looked really good. But actually, what really hurt me was it was not holding me up anymore. It wasn't giving me the structure that I needed.
Oh, wow, that's fascinating. It's a completely different way of, I'm just trying to, as you're saying it, trying to interpret it into my own life, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because it does make a lot of sense. It's just a completely different way of looking at it, or a different perspective. So I'm just trying to make sense of it.
That's all right. It will take time. Often our dream, I may be wrong, but also often our dreams are about things that we don't see consciously because they're looking at our unconscious side. So it can take a while before you go, oh, yeah, I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I ask it to you in a different way, at that time, and again, we will come back to why you're dreaming about it now later, but if we're going back to that time when you were reversing out of the situation, if I said to you, well, I know you don't want to divulge too much because everybody else is listening in, this isn't just between you and me, but if you could put words around, was there a structure that you were backing out of that then hurt you in some way?
Yes. Well, I think if I had continued to stay in that structure, it could have potentially hurt me a lot more.
Yes.
So I was going down a path that perhaps wasn't the best for me, but I didn't realise at the time. And so then I was awoken to perhaps how it can hurt me, and that's why I reversed.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so the sort of duality of the feature may or may not work into that. You know, it could be the structure that you were backing out of was
Yes.
also a feature of your life, or you felt that it made you look good or
It
something.
was, yeah. All of it, all of the above. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know. They may be things that you were kind of aware of at the time, but your dream is adding extra depth into that to kind of give you this sort of double meaning of the structure and the feature, two different, completely different things that you backed out of.
Yes. Oh, wow. This is absolutely fascinating.
That's all right. Even though people are listening in, you don't actually have to speak. We can have little silences while you contemplate that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm sorry about that. I am actually contemplating. But no, you're completely right though. Yeah, I think because I did sort of realise that, not immediately, but as I was going into it, that perhaps it could be very bad for me. And so I was sort of given outside information as to perhaps to rethink it. And so then, but the way, hold on a minute. But the way that hit me as well, that was also like, it was a really big turning point, just in terms of I got hit with some information, and it must have hit me somewhere very deep inside that my inner knowing knew that it was correct.
Yes.
And so I immediately stopped what I was doing, and that was that whole reversing part. But there was a lot of tears and tears and tears, because I thought I was going down this path which I thought was the right path, and it turned out not to be.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, absolute sense. And great observation you made there when you said hits with the information from someone. So it was like the double hit. That was another beam to the head as well.
It was, yes.
I really love that. There's a lot more to do yet, but can we put the playful element into this, the girl on the bike?
Okay, yes.
How would you see getting in touch with your playful side? We'll do that part of the question first. My head's busting with lots of questions. How would you see fitting in the playful side with reversing out of that situation?
Because generally I feel like I am a playful person. Like I can be serious at times, but like more generally I'd say I'm positive and playful. But the reversing. Sorry, can I just double check? Reversing of the playfulness, or
just however you see playfulness coming into. How did was there playfulness in your life, or was there not playfulness in your life at that time that you reversed out of that situation?
Well, I think I was just so. Probably not. I couldn't. I was so distraught by the whole situation that I think it was more serious as opposed to being playful. Yeah.
Yes. So it's great in a way that in the dream, this much further down the track, this playful kind of element comes in and helps you to see what happened. Because she's the one that says to you, oh, you're distressed because you've lost the car. And she's the one that says to you, well, bad as it might be, I've got some news for you. It was stolen. And shortly after that, you're in the car. So it's kind of getting in touch with the playful side, gives you information.
Okay, yeah, okay. Putting some light on the whole situation, right?
Yeah. The other interpretation of the beam of light.
Yes. We did come back to that in the end.
Yeah. So she told you it was stolen. You had a feeling it was stolen. That's interesting. You had a feeling it was stolen, and so you asked her, was it stolen? And that's reminding me of what you said about the situation. you were hit with information that you said somehow you already knew deep down inside,
Yes.
but this information came in to confirm it. So we've got that same kind of feeling with the stealing in the dream. It's like you've got this intuition that my car was stolen, but then somebody confirms that for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. And yeah, very good correlation. I hadn't, yeah, that's very true.
So you can relate to the feeling of something being stolen from you.
Yes, yes. Well, I guess even just it felt like that whole path, the direction that I was going on was sort of, in a sense, I guess, immediately felt like it was stolen because it was something where it was a direction where I thought I was going, but it was taken away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, although, yeah, it was taken away, but also from what you say, once you had that information, you were the one that made
Yes.
the active decision to back out of it.
That's right. Yes.
Sounds sensible from what you're saying.
Yes.
But yeah, you felt that opportunity was taken away.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to jump a few other little places. I want to go right back to the beginning of the dream, and you're at mum and dad's house, and it's nighttime, and your car's parked there. So do you often stay over with mum and dad?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I will sometimes stay there, and I usually park my car at the front of the house. But it's usually in the driveway, though, not on the street.
Not on the street. That's interesting. So, is there a particular situation where you normally stay with your mum and dad, like it's a different part of town, or you do it on a Friday night, or is there a specific thing you can point to? I always stay at mum and dad when.
Oh well, yeah. Oh wait. Oh, sorry. I'm just making lots of noises.
I love it. Keep going. You're doing great.
Oh, yes. Like most of the times it would be on a weekend. Or if, like, just say I'm about to go travelling somewhere, and, like, because they live close to the airport, so I might stay the night before, for example, and then, Dad will take me to the airport, for example. Yeah.
Both of those situations are not connected with work, or the kind of like the reverse of work. Oh, it's a weekend, or I'm going travelling, airport.
Yeah, no, it's usually like fun. Situation.
So we're back to fun and play, yeah. So at the beginning of the dream, I'm in this fun play kind of place, but I couldn't sleep. Now, I remember writing down, I've just lost a bit of paper there, about why you couldn't sleep. There's something, you said in waking life, I get annoyed.
Yes.
I get annoyed when I can't sleep because I know that I need to sleep.
Yes.
So
yes.
Right.
Yes.
So there's a feeling at the beginning of the dream, I'm in a kind of fun place, but I'm annoyed because there's something I need that I'm not getting.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I need something I'm not getting. And you particularly feel annoyed when you're on the computer.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my God. Okay. Because I guess the computer to me associates like a 9-to-5 sort of a job.
Yes. All right.
I think it might be about that. Yeah.
So there's something about work or 9-to-5 job that that I need, but I'm not getting.
Oh, okay. Because I've been looking for a job, I suppose, as well.
Yes. How do you feel about 9-to-5?
Yeah, not particularly crash hot about it.
No.
Yeah.
I like the way you said crash hot about there, and you had a bit of a crash in the dream, but I think that was just incidental. Yeah. I don't think many people like 9-to-5, do they? But anyway,
No,
So we've got the beginning of the dream will often state the theme that the rest of the dream is going on to explore. Okay. And so the beginning of the dream, it looks to be, I'm in a situation, I'm having fun actually, and yet I know there's something I need that I'm not getting, and it appears to be around trying to get the right job for me at the moment.
Yes. Yep.
And then we can put in brackets, because we know from later on in the dream you had a hard knock and you decided to back out of something which may or may not be related to that. So then we have the release of your tears, which is really, really good in the dream, like crying, not only about what happened in the past, but also at this moment in the dream about being annoyed because you're not getting what you need.
Yep.
So if we just stop there at the moment, we're going to continue with it. But because a dream is always processing the last 1 to 2 days, if you go back to
Yes.
the last couple of days of July. Was this what was happening for you at the time? Were you particularly intent on knowing that there was something you needed work-wise that you weren't getting?
Oh, okay. Yes. So it was because I've been applying for different jobs. So I'd been sending lots of applications, and I had been notified that I did have a job, but I didn't have the contract wasn't being sent through.
Ah.
Yeah.
So what did that mean?
So as in, like, I wanted to know, like, before I started the job, I wanted the contract basically just to have all the details. Yeah.
Right.
And it wasn't coming.
Yeah. You didn't have everything you needed.
No. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Wow.
And no doubt, although you don't have to divulge information you don't want everyone to hear, no doubt it was details of a contract or details that got you into reversing out of the previous situation.
Yes, that's correct. Exactly correct. Yeah.
So your dream was going, okay, I know the situation. It's resonating back with a time when I reversed because there were details that I didn't know about that came to light, that came to a beam of light. Yeah.
Yes,
so that's
right.
why your dream is bringing that in. And a dream will often go back to a previous situation that is similar or resonates to help you to distinguish between the two. What did you learn? Your dream is going, this is what you took from that situation before. Mm-hmm. Are you going to repeat? Are you going to take the same thing? Or are you going to learn something different in hindsight from that previous situation and respond differently this time?
Yeah, wow. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So interesting.
Yeah. So what you really went down the track in the dream of looking at, well, what was stolen from me? It was stolen from me. So with this, it will definitely get you looking at that contract if it hasn't arrived in the interim and looking at what's the opposite of stolen? What's the opposite in your mind's eye to having something stolen from you? Not a logical opposite.
Giving, maybe giving.
Giving, that's great. So you might be looking at this new contract and say, not with an eye to what it steals from me, but what does it give me? I want it to.
Okay. Yes.
One could arguably say, oh no, there's nothing bad in there. There's nothing. It doesn't take anything away from me, so that's okay. I'll accept that. But overlook that it's not actually giving you anything.
Yes. Okay. Oh, well, this is very helpful, actually, because the contract just came yesterday, so I'm going to look at it with a different eye.
That's fantastic. Look at it with a beam of light rather than a falling down structure.
That's exactly right. It's very helpful.
That's so lovely. Now, because you had that couple come into your dream, and one of them was your friend that you knew, who has a sense of humour, is fun, playful, doesn't take life awfully seriously, you might like to consider what he would say without actually necessarily approaching him, but what would he say if he looked at the contract that you've got now? What would he suggest that you look for? What would he advise you to do?
Okay. Well, that's an interesting question. Or maybe just to, make sure that everything that I want in there, everything I want is in there, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Or making sure that, whatever requirements I need have been stated.
I love that you started by saying, I want what is there, and then you said every requirement that I need. So you've got want and need in there, because need is enough, but want is, but what I really want is, like it's the icing on the cake, it's the giving. Are there either playful, creative elements in this prospective job, or is the dream reminding you that however serious a job is, you can actually bring playful, creative elements or be more like your friend and bring a sense of humour into it?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting. Well, there will be definitely both, like playful and creative, I think, because although I know what the position is, it's got room for me to bring my own skill set and experience to it, because it's a newly created position.
Yes.
Yeah,
Lovely.
so I will have some influence in perhaps how it evolves.
Oh,
wow.
That's fantastic.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah.
That is so great. So you can drive that car, you can not only drive that car forward, If you're
Yeah.
happy with the contract, you can not only drive it forward, but you can choose where to take it.
Yes, that's right. Oh, wow. That's so interesting. Wow, I can't believe the connections. Oh, my.
You did it. It's all your dream. We're just working to find the connections and point them out. It's always amazes me. I guess what amazes me most about this kind of work is how much we all walk around with our conscious mind, which is such a tiny weeny bit of our whole self, and we've got this massive unconscious mind, which I don't know how people put figures on it, because I don't know how you can measure it really,
Yeah.
but all the literature says, 70 to 90% of you is unconscious mind. It is the larger proportion, and our dreams show us that larger proportion. And so all of this is the stuff that you have already absorbed or know or reflecting your mindset on all this issue. Given the dream tools and techniques that we have and the right questions, we can go through and pick out the pieces, because we know that the unconscious mind can override your conscious perspectives or conscious decision making. Like if we hadn't have done this, there might have been a part of your unconscious mind that goes, oh, if it looks anything like that, you're going to have to back out, you're going to hit your head. So it's going to be stolen from you. And because you wouldn't know about that, because it's an unconscious driving force, it might influence, perhaps not accepting the job, but it might influence how you evolve and where you drive this job and what streets you choose. Whereas knowing about that was that feeling that was got from the previous experience, you can transform it, change it around so that it's not sitting in that form in your unconscious mind, and therefore not going to be in the way of or influencing what you do with the job.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely to think that this is what we can find in our, like it's trying to give us direction, I suppose, or some advice, help, assistance, how to move forward.
You look through the greater information bank and emotional bank and all your perspectives and your mindset, the greater part of yourself than you ever knew that you had, and from that you can make really good decisions.
Yeah, wow, it's just amazing that we can unlock and tap into that information.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. Yeah,
I love that you were still crying at the end of the dream because your head got hit and it hurt.
Yes,
but it was also like a further release, and it to me it's lovely, because if you'd had the knock on your head in the dream, and the rest of the dream was like all head stuff, I would be thinking, have we really got through to the emotional content of that? But because you've got the crying in the dream, we know you've got head and heart aspects and perspectives on this all up.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
So you've got, I'm going to ask you some more in a minute, but you've got a lot of insight from this that will maybe like determine things like what you're looking for in the contract.
Yeah.
If you're looking for the gifts in it as well, and what you want as well as what you need and all of that. Where was I going with this? On top of that, which has probably given you sort of positive thoughts and ideas, we can also, of course, do a dream alchemy practice. And the purpose of this, which for people listening in, is when you look at something in a dream that exposes an aspect of your mindset or your experience that might be limiting how you go forward. And the dream alchemy is changing that around by doing an exercise with a symbol or a narrative from the dream to basically rewire your brain, reprogram your unconscious mind to take that hard knock out of it, to make sure that as you make the decisions going forward, your unconscious is in alignment with you.
Okay.
And I could, we'll do that in a minute, and I'll ask you in a minute if you've got any ideas what you would like to do, and we'll evolve that together. But just before we go there, are there any outstanding questions about the dream that you would like to ask?
So there was a little bit of an additional part, I think, that I wrote down towards the end.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if I should have mentioned it earlier, but so that young girl, I was talking to her at some point, I've written down, and I was driving a new car, which I had borrowed. Maybe it was a rental, and could buy. I said I could buy that one or continue to drive until I bought a new car.
Yes,
but it wasn't the car that I wanted.
So there's a sense there that you realised that the old car was past it, not as in the car in your actual life, but what it represented. The old drive where you're going in your car, what you reversed out of.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Okay.
And so what you've described there is a transition. It's maybe a rental, it's maybe a new car, but I know that I could buy a new car, but it may not be what I wanted. So it's an acknowledgement of I'm in transition here. At some level in the dream, that does show that there might be a bit of a limitation there because you were thinking, oh, I could buy a new car, but it's not really what I want. And we've just gone through other aspects of the dream that have gone, don't just go for what you need, also go for what you want.
Oh, want. Okay, yeah. Just confirms that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you've done the letting go, crashed the old car, crashed your head, and you're in transition, but are you going to make the best decision? Are you going to go for what you want as well as for what you need?
Yeah, okay. Well, that's, yeah.
Did you have any other extra notes there?
Oh, no, I think there's a few, but there was just one more just in terms of, because then it was sort of adds on about, I then thought about the money, where would I find the money to buy the new car? And then I said I saw myself driving this rental, which was, then I've just written down it was a specific model. But, yeah, that was it. That was the last part of it that I'd written down.
What was the specific model?
Oh, it was a Honda.
So what?
I don't know why.
Okay. What do we all think of a Honda? What do you think of a Honda?
I mean, I'm not here nor there about them, really. It's not a car that I would choose to buy, so I'm not sure why it popped up.
Okay. So in the dream, it looks like there's a limitation in your unconscious mind, which is saying you may have to drive something that's not really what you want. It's neither here nor there.
Okay.
Right. And then that question of where would I find the dollars for that? Maybe you reflecting because you're between jobs. Well, actually, where would I find the dollars?
Yeah, okay.
But it can also be in the dream, where am I? What do I value? Where do I place my value? Not in the actual car any of us drive, but in what that represents in your dream. So again, you've got that sense of there with the contract. Consider that you don't want to sign a contract that's neither here nor there in terms of what you want. Yeah. So you've got negotiating power.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you.
So if we were to do a dream alchemy practice to look for any kind of limitation in the dream there that we want to reverse, what limitation jumps out from you in that dream that you think could do without that?
The beam.
Yeah, the beam. Okay.
I guess the beam, the stealing. The beam, the stealing. I feel like I was going to say one more. Maybe the not sleeping and all the crying.
Okay, right. That's great. Let me just think about this. Okay. So we start the dream. That goes right back to the beginning of the dream. I can't sleep. I'm not getting what I need. There's something I need that I'm not getting. And I don't want to go back through. I don't want to put myself through the situation I had in the past where my head got knocked, which, by the way, may have been 10 or 12 months ago or 10 or 12 weeks ago, bringing that 10 or 12, but you can think about that later.
Yeah.
So I want to sleeping would mean I get what I need, but also what I want. I don't want to be reversing. What I would do for you, Betty? I would bring in that playful creative self of yours.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would rewrite your dream. So you start with the beginning. I'm at mum, and you only have to write, say, 2 or 3 paragraphs. If you want to write more, you can, but 2 or 3 paragraphs is enough. And it doesn't have to be publishable. You're the only person who's going to see it. But you're basically rewriting the dream to rewire your unconscious mind, to change the narrative. But start with the same starting point. I'm at mum and dad's. It's like my car is parked there.
Uh-huh.
And then from the moment it goes, I can't sleep, get out of bed and see a beam of light coming through the window.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then just write whatever you like, but it must involve at some point making a decision for what you want, not for what you need. And it would be quite nice, if you can, to bring in a symbol of the car that you think would represent the kind of car that would be the personality of how you would like to approach the job that you want to have in the future.
Oh, wow. Okay, I really like that. Yeah.
Do you like that? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
So have fun with it. So part of the dream alchemy is to make sure you're having fun in this otherwise serious time. And part of it is to rewrite the narrative of the dream. So you're telling your unconscious mind, yeah, not that story, this story.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that now, actually.
Okay, that's fantastic. Well, thank you for being a wonderful guest on the Dream Show.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity.
It's an absolute pleasure. Well, I loved speaking with Betty, as I love speaking with all our guests that volunteer to be on the Dream Show. And it's such a wonderful and sometimes courageous thing to do, to put up your hand, even though it's done anonymously. It's just a name and the place where you are. And of course, we talk to people all over the world. It's still, you still get to that point where, you know, as I kept reminding Betty, there are lots of people listening in here. You don't have to give all the information. So it's lovely and it was lovely to hear her energy around that too. If you'd like to be a guest on the Dream Show, simply go to janeteresa.com, go to the menu, go to podcast, the Dream Show. And in the drop-down box there, you'll find a form to fill in where you can put up your hand and say, I'd love to be a guest on the Dream Show. The next episode of the Dream Show, episode 260, is due out on the 8th of September 2022, if you're listening to this in real time. I know that some of you listening, I will speak to between now and then in private sessions. And for everybody else, thank you for listening to yet another episode of The Dream Show. And I'll speak to you next month. Have a wonderful month. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson.